Live at 6, this is 13 News Now.
And we begin with day 3 of the shutdown. It appears the end is near.
The big breakthrough happened when the Senate voted 81-18 today to break the impasse. And right now the House is voting. This is a live look.
Still, it has been an excruciating day for thousands of local civil servants and military families. Mike Gooding joins us now with more. Mike.
Well, David and Regina, a crazy day to be sure. Thousands of military-related people here in our region have been jerked around today. And the unfortunate part of all this is although it will be good news if the shutdown is averted, in the end, lawmakers are just kicking the can down the road.
Everybody all the government employees shop here basically all the time, and everything would be real sad.
At the Naval Station Norfolk Commissary, local military families count on big discounts free of state and local food taxes. As part of the government shutdown, though, the facility would have closed after the end of business Wednesday, much to the dismay of patrons.
I think it's terrible because the working man is being affected, especially our active duty military and the families.
So serious was the threat of shutdown that thousands of local civil servants today received their furlough letters. But by midday, the Senate broke the impasse, paving the way for the government to reopen. And while that in and of itself is good news, the country could find itself in the same situation in 17 days when the new temporary spending measure would expire and the heavily military-dependent Hampton Roads economy will be left hanging in the balance yet again. ODU economics professor Vinod Agarwal, happy to hear of the Senate breakthrough, says the Congress must now get away from continuing resolutions and pass a proper 1 or 2 year appropriations bill.
See, this is the worst part of this continuing resolutions is you don't pass appropriations. Businesses do not know how to plan their lives. Should they hire people? Should they lay off people? What should they be doing? They have no clue.
And so once we get through today and once there is a presidential signature on a new continuing resolution, the next big date to watch will be February 8th. And we all get to go through this collectively one more time. Reporting live, Mike Gooding, 13 News Now.
Virginia Senator Tim Kaine spoke a short time ago. The Democrat says the breaking of the impasse is good because now there is a path for helping the dreamers. But he said that's not all.
And then the other reason it's worth it is we've now got this group of 30 that we're going to hang together, not just for immigration. We're going to hang together for getting a good budget. We're going to hang together for doing other things that will make the Senate work well again.
Earlier, we heard from Virginia's other Senator Mark Warner. He said he is pleased the shutdown appears to be on its way of being solved, but he noted there is still much work to do.
Mother in Isle of Wight County is now charged with murder in the death of her young son. Investigators with the sheriff's office are charging Jay Hadley with second-degree murder. She is already charged with child abuse and aggravated malicious wounding in the death of her 5-year-old Alexander Robertson. Medics flew the little boy to CHKD earlier this month, where he died a few days later. Investigators also charged Justin Cox with child neglect in the case. Both Cox and Hadley remain in jail as the investigation continues. A Virginia Beach mother will serve 8 years for beating her daughter with a baseball bat in a fit of rage. The beating happened in November of 2016 after Gehring told her 11-year-old that she was spending the night at a man's house. The 11-year-old told Gehring's boyfriend about that. The child's mother lost her temper and beat the girl, breaking her hand and also injuring her face, arms, shoulders, and legs. Gehring pleaded guilty to child abuse and malicious wounding.
A Norfolk man was acquitted late this afternoon of shooting and killing a homeless man. A jury found Terrence Booth not guilty of second-degree murder and the death of Addison Sheeran. Investigators claimed Booth shot Addison in Lafayette Park in 2016. A witness claimed the shooting was over a drug deal. Jurors did not think prosecutors had enough evidence. A delay in the case against Eric Brown, the Navy veteran accused of kidnapping Ashanti Billy from JEB Little Creek and killing her. Eric Brown is being held at the Federal Medical Center in Lexington, Kentucky. The warden says they need more time to complete a mental evaluation on Brown because the clinical staff is fulfilling many other requests right now. A judge approved a 15-day extension, ordering the exam be completed by February 2nd. The final report is due a month after that to help determine if Brown is fit to stand trial.
It's a fight between the romantics and the realists along Norfolk's Hague Bridge. The battle is over hundreds of Lovelocks.
The fight went before a judge today. Stephen Graves is live near the bridge. Stephen, what did the judge have to say?
Well, Regina, it seems like the key issue here is safety for him. If he does not decide to bring on a special grand jury to look into this, then the locks stay. If he does bring on the grand jury, we could see this go to trial. Tonight, the debate over these symbols of love is in the hands of a judge. Some people, frankly, hate the Lovelocks, which is why they were the center of a court hearing today. At stake, whether or not a special grand jury should rule on if these are a safety hazard or a nuisance. 5 citizens of Norfolk seem to think so. In court, one of those, a legally blind woman, testified that she feels unsafe, worried about the locks sticking out as she's forced to lean on the railing. That group has teamed up and lawyered up, taking the city to court, citing an old state statute. It lets a judge decide if a jury should be appointed. The city doesn't think it's necessary. You see, they say the locks aren't a hazard or graffiti, and they don't violate city code. They've investigated it.
I think it's still fine. It gives a little culture.
Now, this is a years-long debate. At some point, these locks reach the thousands. People have strong feelings. Even today, a woman said she just did not like the locks. Matt Hurst heard her argument, but he's still in support.
Most cities I've been to Philadelphia and D.C., they do the same thing.
Are you surprised that something like this is in court?
Yeah.
Now the judge says he'll take time out of his own day, come to look at these locks before making a decision. And here's an interesting thing. Before leaving the bench today, he talked about how he had concern that these might be a right-of-way issue for people walking along the railing, but the city maintained that it is not, and that these locks do not even jut out that far. Now, the judge is expected to make a decision by the end of this week. We will keep you updated. Reporting live at the Hague Bridge, I'm Stephen Graves, 13 News Now.
We soon can know more about plans to redevelop 3 public housing communities in Norfolk. Tomorrow, City Council will vote on a plan concerning Tidewater Gardens, Calvert Square, and Young Terrace. As we've been reporting, the city wants to turn these low-income communities into mixed-income neighborhoods. The people who live there now are worried they'll be pushed out of their homes. We'll let you know what happens with the vote.
The Janef Shopping Center in Norfolk has a new owner. Real Estate Trust paid more than $85 million for the center at Military Highway and Virginia Beach Boulevard. The company that bought Janef specializes in creating grocery-anchored centers. There's no word on whether there will be any changes at Janef.